The race on for the leadership of the Conservative Party after the Prime Minister resigned as party leader yesterday. He is, as we keep saying, due to remain in office until a successor is found.
Well, let's get more reaction then from MP for Shipley, Philip Davies, who is also one of our GBNews presenters. Hello there, and my goodness, what a rough and tumble last 24 hours has been, or 48 hours has been. How are you feeling? Are you shell-shocked at the moment?
Morning, Anne and Stephen. Yeah, no, it's been a bit of a circus, hasn't it? The last few days, and so yes, things have happened very quickly. So yeah, I think we're all a bit shell shocked, really, about what's happened over the last few days. It's been quite surreal, really.
What do you make of the runners and riders so far? I'll tell you what's interesting, Philip, because we can sort of talk to you as a colleague rather than just an MP in all of this. We know when MPs are asked who are you likely to support, of course nobody wants to say, because it's all about positioning yourself for getting a sort of cabinet job or a ministerial job at some point in the future. I mean, is that a pressure that you're now going to have to face, you and Esther, of course?
Well, certainly not for me, Stephen, because I don't want a job. I said in my maiden speech in Parliament that I wouldn't accept a promotion, and that certainly hasn't changed in the last 17 years. So I'm in a good position. I don't want a job. I'm not horse trading for anything. I just need to pick who I think is the best person for the country and for my constituents. And I genuinely don't know who that is. I mean, I'm a pretty straight shooter, I like to think. And so if I was supporting a particular candidate, I'd be perfectly happy to tell you two privately and publicly, but I genuinely don't know who that is and what I intend to. I don't even know who's running yet, to be honest. So I will see who the runners and riders are. I will speak to them all personally, and then I'll decide who I think has got the best programme for the country and my constituency. But I genuinely don't know who that is at the moment.
Do you think there are a lot of MPs like you who genuinely don't know who they would vote for? If we knew the list of runners and riders, we can only suspect. Do you think there's a lot of uncertainty?
Definitely. Absolutely. There's definitely a lot of people who are not aligned to any camp or are not sort of agitating for anybody. I've spoken to a few colleagues and a surprising number don't know themselves who to vote for as yet. So there's plenty to go at for the various candidates.
This is an opportunity, isn't it, though, for somebody comparatively new, someone who's not on the radar, as it were. A bit like we saw when David Cameron took over as leader back in, I don't know, what was it, 2007, 2008, something like that. I have to say, I've been saying this morning, what about someone like Johnny Mercer?
Well, look, it's an open field, and so you're right to that extent. I don't think there's any sort of overwhelming favourite, and therefore there's always the scope, certainly in a Conservative Party election, for somebody to come through the middle or somebody who's relatively unknown to the public to shine over the next couple of weeks. I think that the only difference is with, say, David Cameron is that it's a lot easier for somebody unknown to take over as leader of the opposition, because they've got then 4 years or so to establish themselves with the public and prepare for government. Obviously, whoever wins this contest is going to go straight in as Prime Minister. And that's a very, very different thing altogether. So it makes it harder, I think, for somebody who is not well established to win the contest. But yeah, it's by no means impossible.
Of course, the big talk today, and will be for the next few days, or weeks maybe, is whether Boris should hang on in there now as caretaker Prime Minister or somebody else take over that role. And I just wonder what you think, what your constituents feel and voters throughout the country feel about the pretty unedifying process that has just happened over the last 48 hours. Boris Johnson himself called it when the herd turns. What do you think ordinary people will think of all that?
Well, look, inevitably in these things, there'll be some of my constituents who are delighted at the turn of events over the last few days, and there'll be some of my constituents who are very, very disappointed, and some of them who are angry about it. So, I mean, I guess in that sense, Boris was quite a Marmite figure in that regard. Some people absolutely loved him. and some people don't. I guess that's the case with all of us in politics to a certain extent, but maybe Boris more than most. Look, I don't see any argument why Boris shouldn't continue. I don't understand this idea that he should have to step down straight away. When Theresa May resigned in similar circumstances, she carried on, and nobody batted an eyelid about that. When David Cameron resigned, he carried on until we'd found a successor, and nobody batted an eyelid about that either. I mean, that's what always happens, is that the current Prime Minister and the current leader stays on until a successor's been chosen. And so, aside from people who are just sort of so hostile to Boris, they're sort of blinded by it, I don't really see any argument or reason why Boris shouldn't continue until a successor's been found. That's how we always do these things.